Have you ever noticed how some people seem to glide through life's storms while others get knocked down by the smallest breeze? What's their secret? It's not that they don't face challenges, they've simply mastered something most of us were never taught: how to remain centered regardless of external circumstances. Today, we're diving deep into what I call the 12 keys to unshakable inner peace. These aren't just feel-good concepts, they're practical tools that can transform how you experience every aspect of your life. Whether you're dealing with difficult relationships, workplace stress, or just the daily chaos of modern living, these keys will help you build an inner fortress of calm. Think of this as your personal blueprint for emotional freedom. By the end of our time together, you'll understand exactly how to protect your mental space, respond rather than react, and maintain your equilibrium no matter what life throws your way. So get comfortable, settle in, and let's begin this journey toward true inner peace. Your future self, the one who stays calm in traffic, sleeps peacefully at night, and handles criticism with grace, is waiting for you. Imagine your emotional well-being as a beautiful home that you've spent years building and decorating. Would you leave the front door wide open and let anyone walk in wearing muddy boots? Of course not. Yet that's exactly what we do when we fail to establish clear emotional boundaries. Your emotional space is sacred territory, and you are its sole guardian. This means deciding who gets access to your energy, when they get it, and under what circumstances. It's about creating healthy limits that protect your peace while still allowing for meaningful connections. Boundaries aren't walls that isolate you from others. They're more like a beautiful garden gate that defines your space while still allowing invited guests to enter. The key word here is invited. You get to choose who influences your emotional state and when. Let's say a family member has a habit of calling you to complain about their problems every single evening, right when you're trying to unwind from your day. Without boundaries, you might feel obligated to listen every time, gradually building resentment as your personal time disappears. With healthy boundaries, you might say something like, "I care about you and want to support you. Let's schedule a specific time twice a week when we can really focus on what's troubling you, and I can give you my full attention." This approach honors both your needs and theirs. They get genuine support, and you get to protect your daily peace. Everyone wins when boundaries are clear and compassionate. Start by identifying where you feel most drained or overwhelmed in your relationships. Those are usually the areas where boundaries are needed most. Remember, you're not responsible for managing other people's emotions, solving their problems, or being available 24/7. Your first responsibility is to maintain your own emotional equilibrium so you can show up as your best self. Here's something that might surprise you. The people who advance fastest in life aren't those who avoid criticism. They're the ones who've learned to extract value from it while keeping their confidence intact. They've discovered that feedback, even when poorly delivered, often contains seeds of growth. The natural response to criticism is defensiveness. Our ego jumps up to protect us, making us want to justify, explain, or counterattack. But what if we could train ourselves to see criticism as free consulting? What if every piece of feedback became information we could use to improve? This doesn't mean accepting all criticism as valid or letting people treat you poorly. It means developing the skill to separate the message from the messenger, the useful information from the emotional packaging it comes in. Let me give you a real-world example. Imagine your supervisor tells you that your presentation style is too casual for important client meetings. Your first reaction might be hurt or anger. After all, you've worked hard on those presentations. But if you can pause and look for the useful information, you might realize they're suggesting that matching your communication style to your audience could help you be more effective. Here's a simple framework for handling criticism constructively. First, Thank the person for their perspective. This buys you time and prevents defensive reactions. Second, ask clarifying questions to understand their viewpoint better. Third, take time to evaluate their feedback privately when you're not feeling emotional. Finally, implement what's useful and discard what isn't. The most successful people I know actively seek feedback because they understand that outside perspectives can reveal blind spots they'd never see on their own. They've learned that their worth as a person isn't tied to being perfect. It's tied to their willingness to keep growing. There's a profound difference between caring about people and being emotionally hijacked by their moods, problems, and drama. Strategic emotional detachment isn't about becoming cold or uncaring. It's about maintaining your emotional equilibrium so you can actually be more helpful and present. Think of yourself as a skilled doctor in an emergency room. The doctor cares deeply about their patients, but they don't become emotionally overwhelmed by every crisis that comes through the door. Their ability to stay calm and focused is exactly what allows them to provide the best care possible. This same principle applies to your relationships and daily interactions. When someone you care about is going through a difficult time, your natural instinct might be to absorb their stress, worry alongside them, and take on their emotional burden. But here's what I've learned. You can't solve someone else's problems by making them your own. Strategic detachment means being supportive without being consumed. It means listening with empathy while maintaining your own emotional center. It means offering help without feeling responsible for fixing everything. Let's say a close friend is going through a difficult divorce and calls you multiple times a day to vent about their situation. With strategic detachment, you might say, "I can see how much pain you're in, and I want to support you. Let's set up a specific time each day when I can give you my full attention for this conversation. In between, I think it would be helpful for you to speak with a counselor who can provide professional guidance." This approach shows that you care while also protecting your own emotional resources. You're being a good friend without sacrificing your own well-being. The beautiful thing about strategic detachment is that it actually makes you more effective in your relationships. When you're not constantly absorbed in other people's emotional states, you can offer clearer perspective, better advice, and more genuine presence when it really matters. Just as you wouldn't intentionally consume poison, you don't have to consume every negative word, opinion, or energy that comes your way. Developing selective hearing for negativity is about becoming intentional about what you allow into your mental space. This isn't about living in denial or avoiding all challenging conversations. It's about distinguishing between constructive input that can help you grow and toxic negativity that serves no purpose other than to drag you down. Think about the people in your life who consistently bring drama, complaints, or negative energy to every interaction. You know the ones. They always have a crisis. They see problems in every situation, and they seem to drain your energy just by being around them. While you can't always avoid these people entirely, you can choose how much of their negativity you absorb. Here's a practical technique. Imagine you have an invisible shield around you that filters incoming energy. Positive, constructive, or neutral energy passes right through and reaches you. Negative, toxic, or draining energy bounces off and doesn't penetrate your space. When someone starts complaining excessively, gossiping, or spreading negative energy, you can acknowledge what they're saying without internalizing it. You might respond with something neutral like, "That sounds challenging," or "I can see why that would be frustrating," without diving deep into their negativity or offering to fix their problems. This selective hearing also applies to your media consumption. If watching the news leaves you feeling anxious and powerless, limit your exposure. If certain social media accounts consistently make you feel inadequate or angry, unfollow them. If particular podcasts or YouTube channels fill your mind with negativity, Find alternatives that inspire and uplift you. Remember, your attention is one of your most valuable resources. You get to decide where to invest it. Choose content, conversations, and people that add value to your life rather than depleting your energy. The goal isn't to become naive or disconnected from reality. It's to become selective about the information and energy you allow to influence your inner state, so you can maintain the clarity and positivity needed to navigate life effectively. One of the most liberating discoveries you can make is that your sense of worth doesn't depend on external approval. When you master internal validation, you become unshakable because your confidence comes from within rather than from the fluctuating opinions of others. Most of us learned early in life to seek validation from parents, teachers, friends, and authority figures. While some external feedback can be valuable, problems arise when we become dependent on constant approval to feel good about ourselves. This creates an exhausting cycle where our mood and self-worth fluctuate based on other people's reactions. Internal validation means becoming your own best cheerleader and honest critic. It means celebrating your progress, acknowledging your efforts, and recognizing your growth, regardless of whether others notice or applaud. It also means giving yourself constructive feedback when needed, without the harsh self-criticism that often comes from external judgment. Here's how to start building this skill. Begin each day by setting intentions based on your own values and goals, not on what you think will impress others. End each day by acknowledging 3 things you did well, regardless of how small they might seem. This could be as simple as having a difficult conversation with kindness, making progress on a project, or choosing to respond calmly in a stressful situation. When you receive external feedback, whether positive or negative, filter it through your own assessment. Ask yourself, does this align with what I know about myself? Is there something useful here I can learn from? How does this feedback relate to my own goals and values? This doesn't mean becoming arrogant or dismissing all outside input. It means developing such a strong internal compass that external opinions become information rather than validation. You can consider what others say without being controlled by what others say. The most confident people I know have this quality. They're open to feedback, but not dependent on approval. They know their own worth, understand their values, and can maintain their sense of self regardless of the crowd's opinion. Fighting against reality is like trying to swim upstream in a raging river. It's exhausting, futile, and keeps you from reaching your destination. Radical acceptance doesn't mean passive resignation. It means acknowledging what's actually happening so you can respond effectively rather than waste energy on denial or resistance. Life rarely unfolds according to our plans. People don't always behave as we'd like them to. Circumstances beyond our control constantly arise. When we resist these realities, we add unnecessary suffering to situations that are already challenging. Radical acceptance means saying, "This is what's happening right now," without immediately adding, "and it shouldn't be this way." It's the difference between "I can't believe traffic is this bad" and "traffic is heavy right now, so I'll adjust my expectations and find ways to use this time productively." This doesn't mean you stop working to improve situations or that you tolerate harmful behavior. It means you start from a place of acknowledging reality rather than fighting it. From this grounded perspective, you can make clearer decisions about what actions to take. Let's say you've been hoping for a promotion at work, but your company announces a hiring freeze. You could spend weeks feeling angry, resentful, and frustrated about the unfairness of it all. Or you could practice radical acceptance. The promotion isn't available right now. This is disappointing, but it's the current reality. Given this situation, what are my best options moving forward? This shift in perspective opens up possibilities that resistance closes off. Maybe you use this time to develop new skills, explore opportunities at other companies, or start a side project that could lead to something even better. Radical acceptance is particularly powerful in relationships. Instead of constantly trying to change others or expecting them to meet your unspoken needs, you can accept them as they are while clearly communicating your own boundaries and needs. The peace that comes from radical acceptance is profound. You stop wasting mental energy on things you can't control and redirect that energy toward actions that can actually make a difference. In a world that seems to reward the loudest voice and the quickest comeback, there's incredible power in choosing when not to speak. Strategic silence isn't about being passive or avoiding confrontation. It's about understanding that sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Every day presents moments when you could react, argue, defend, or explain yourself. But just because you can respond doesn't mean you should. Learning to use silence strategically gives you enormous control over your interactions and emotional state. Silence accomplishes several powerful things. First, it prevents you from saying something in the heat of the moment that you might regret later. Second, it often forces the other person to examine their own words and behavior without the distraction of your reaction. Third, it conserves your energy for conversations and conflicts that truly matter. Consider this scenario. A coworker makes a snide comment about your work in front of others. Your instinct might be to defend yourself immediately or make a cutting remark in return. But what if you simply maintained eye contact for a moment and then calmly continued with what you were doing? Often, this measured response is far more powerful than any verbal comeback could be. Strategic silence also applies to online interactions. Social media is full of inflammatory comments, political arguments, and people seeking attention through controversy. You could spend hours each day responding to every provocative post, but what would that accomplish besides elevating your stress level and wasting your time? Here's how to develop this skill. Before responding to any challenging interaction, pause and ask yourself 3 questions. First, will my response improve this situation or just create more drama? Second, is this person genuinely interested in discussion, or are they just seeking a reaction? Third, is this issue important enough to deserve my time and energy? Often, you'll find that silence is the wisest choice. This doesn't mean avoiding all difficult conversations or never standing up for yourself. It means being selective about when and how you engage, so your voice carries more weight when you do choose to use it. The beauty of strategic silence is that it positions you as someone who chooses their battles carefully. People start to pay more attention when you do speak, because they know you only engage when something truly matters to you. Anger isn't inherently bad. It's often a signal that something important to you has been violated or threatened. But when anger becomes your default response to frustration, disappointment, or conflict, it clouds your judgment and limits your options. Learning to transform anger into clarity through gratitude gives you access to creative solutions that pure anger never provides. Here's something fascinating about the human brain. It's virtually impossible to feel genuinely grateful and furious at the same time. These emotional states activate different neural pathways, and gratitude has the power to interrupt anger's automatic patterns, creating space for more thoughtful responses. This doesn't mean suppressing anger or pretending problems don't exist. It means using gratitude as a tool to shift your perspective so you can address challenges more effectively. When you're angry, your thinking becomes narrow and reactive. When you're grateful, your thinking becomes expansive and creative. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic while you're already running late. Your initial reaction might be anger at them, at the traffic, at your timing. But what if you paused and found something to be grateful for in that moment? Maybe you're thankful for having a reliable car, for the interesting podcast you're listening to, or even for the reminder to slow down and be more present. This shift doesn't magically solve the traffic situation, but it completely changes your experience of it. Instead of arriving at your destination stressed and angry, you arrive calm and centered, ready to handle whatever comes next. The same principle applies to interpersonal conflicts. When someone disappoints or frustrates you, finding something to appreciate about them or the situation can help you respond from a place of wisdom rather than pure emotion. This doesn't mean accepting poor treatment, but it means addressing issues from a balanced perspective. Here's a powerful practice. Whenever you notice anger rising, immediately identify 3 things you're genuinely grateful for in that moment. They don't have to be related to the frustrating situation. They can be anything from your health to your morning coffee to the roof over your head. Over time, this practice literally rewires your brain to notice positive aspects of situations more readily. You become someone who naturally sees opportunities instead of just obstacles, solutions instead of just problems. One of the quickest paths to frustration and disappointment is expecting others to think, act, and respond exactly as you would. Every person you encounter is operating from their own unique combination of experiences, values, beliefs, and emotional patterns. When you expect them to follow your personal rulebook, you're setting yourself up for constant disappointment. Think about how much mental energy you spend being frustrated because someone didn't meet your unspoken expectations. Maybe it's a friend who's chronically late, a family member who doesn't express appreciation the way you do, or a coworker who has a completely different communication style. The frustration you feel isn't really about their behavior. It's about the gap between what they're doing and what you think they should be doing. Here's a liberating truth. People are who they are, not who you want them to be. Accepting this doesn't mean tolerating harmful behavior or abandoning your own standards. It means recognizing that your peace is too valuable to sacrifice for something you fundamentally cannot control. Let's say you're someone who always responds to texts immediately, and you expect the same from others. When friends take hours or days to reply, you might feel ignored, unimportant, or disrespected. But what if their communication style simply operates on a different timeline? What if they prefer to respond thoughtfully rather than quickly? By releasing your expectation that they should communicate like you do, you free yourself from unnecessary emotional turmoil. This principle applies across all relationships. The family member who doesn't express emotions openly isn't necessarily being cold. They might show love through actions rather than words. The colleague who seems abrupt in meetings might be focused and efficient rather than rude. The friend who cancels plans frequently might be struggling with energy management rather than showing disrespect. When you stop trying to fit others into your behavioral mold, something beautiful happens. You start seeing them for who they actually are rather than being disappointed by who they're not. This creates space for genuine acceptance and often improves your relationships significantly. Here's a practical approach. When someone's behavior frustrates you, pause and ask yourself, what was I expecting them to do? Is this expectation realistic given who they are? How can I adjust my expectations to match reality while still maintaining my own boundaries? This shift doesn't mean lowering your standards or accepting poor treatment. It means distinguishing between someone's natural personality traits and genuinely problematic behavior so you can respond appropriately to each. Not every disagreement deserves your participation. Not every slight requires your response. Not every wrong opinion needs your correction. Learning to choose your battles wisely is one of the most important skills for maintaining inner peace and preserving your energy for what truly matters. The urge to be right is powerful. It's tied to our ego, our sense of identity, and our need to be understood. But here's what I've learned. Being right and being peaceful are often mutually exclusive. You can choose to win the argument, or you can choose to win at life, but rarely both at the same time. Think about a wise military general planning a campaign. They don't attack every enemy position with equal force. They assess which battles are worth fighting, which can be avoided, and which require their full attention and resources. They understand that winning the war is more important than winning every individual skirmish. The same strategic thinking applies to your daily interactions. Every day presents opportunities for conflict, debate, and argument. Someone will express an opinion you disagree with. Someone will make a decision you think is wrong. Someone will act in a way that frustrates you. In each moment, you have a choice: engage or preserve your peace. Here's a framework for making these decisions. First, ask yourself if this issue aligns with your core values. Is this about something that truly matters to you, or is it just a difference of opinion? Second, consider whether engaging will actually change anything meaningful. Will this conversation lead to mutual understanding or just escalate tension? Third, evaluate the relationship and context. Is this person genuinely open to different perspectives, or are they just looking for a fight? Let me give you an example. You're at a family gathering when someone makes a political comment you strongly disagree with. You could launch into a detailed rebuttal, cite statistics, and try to change their mind. Or you could simply say, "I see it differently," and redirect the conversation to something more positive. The second approach preserves family harmony and your own peace, while the first likely leads to an argument that changes no one's mind. This doesn't mean becoming passive or never standing up for your beliefs. It means being strategic about when and how you engage. Save your energy for the battles that truly matter, and the ones that align with your deepest values or affect significant outcomes in your life. The most peaceful people I know have mastered this art. They speak up when it matters and stay quiet when it doesn't. They've learned that their voice carries more weight when they use it selectively, and their peace of mind is too valuable to sacrifice for every minor disagreement. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to carry their emotional weather everywhere they go? They walk into a room and suddenly everyone feels their stress, anger, or negativity. Developing immunity to others' emotional turbulence means you can remain calm and centered regardless of the emotional storms swirling around you. This isn't about becoming cold or uncaring. It's about understanding that you don't have to absorb every emotion that others are experiencing. Just as you wouldn't jump into a raging river to help someone who's drowning, you'd throw them a rope from solid ground. You can offer support to others without drowning in their emotional state. Think of emotions as being contagious like a cold. You can be around someone who has a cold without catching it if you take proper precautions. Similarly, you can be around someone who's anxious, angry, or depressed without absorbing their emotional state if you maintain proper emotional boundaries. Here's what this looks like in practice. Your coworker comes to work stressed and irritable, snapping at everyone and complaining about their problems. Instead of matching their energy or feeling responsible for fixing their mood, you maintain your own emotional equilibrium. You can acknowledge their stress without taking it on. It sounds like you're having a really tough day. Is there anything specific I can help you with? This approach shows compassion while protecting your own emotional state. You're not ignoring their feelings or being dismissive. You're simply choosing not to let their emotions dictate yours. The same principle applies in more intimate relationships. When your partner, family member, or close friend is going through a difficult time, your natural instinct might be to worry alongside them, stress about their problems, and take on their emotional burden. But here's what I've learned. You can't solve someone else's problems by making them your own. Developing emotional immunity involves several key practices. First, recognize when you're absorbing others' emotions rather than just empathizing with them. Second, Create mental boundaries by reminding yourself that their feelings are theirs to process, not yours to fix. Third, practice returning to your own emotional center through deep breathing, brief meditation, or simply stepping away for a moment. This skill becomes especially important in environments where you're regularly exposed to strong emotions, whether that's in healthcare, education, customer service, or just living with family members who tend toward drama. The beautiful thing about emotional immunity is that it actually makes you more helpful to others. When you're not consumed by their emotional state, you can offer clearer perspective, better advice, and more stable support. If I could give you just one master key that unlocks all the others, it would be this: the profound power of letting go. Not just of major traumas or significant losses, but of the daily accumulation of small resentments, unmet expectations, minor disappointments, and the countless ways life doesn't match your preferences. Letting go is perhaps the most misunderstood concept in personal development. People often think it means giving up, accepting defeat, or pretending things don't matter. But true letting go is actually the opposite. It's an active choice to release what's holding you back so you can move forward with greater freedom and power. Think of letting go like cleaning out a cluttered closet. Every resentment, every grudge, every "I can't believe they did that" is like an item you're storing that no longer serves you. It takes up space, makes it harder to find what you actually need, and weighs you down. Letting go is the process of clearing out what's no longer useful, so you have room for what truly matters. This doesn't happen overnight, especially with deeper hurts or more significant disappointments. Some things require time, perhaps professional support, and a gradual process of release. But the goal remains the same: to eventually reach a place where past events no longer control your present emotional state. Here's what letting go looks like in daily life. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and instead of staying angry for the next 10 minutes, you take a deep breath and release it. A friend cancels plans at the last minute, and instead of harboring resentment, you choose to understand that they're dealing with their own challenges. A coworker takes credit for your idea, and instead of plotting revenge, you focus on your next opportunity to contribute. The power of letting go extends beyond individual incidents to larger life patterns. Maybe you've been holding on to anger about your childhood, resentment about a past relationship, or disappointment about a career setback. These stored emotions aren't just memories, they're active forces that shape how you see yourself and the world around you. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or condoning harmful behavior. It means choosing to stop letting past events continue to hurt your present experience. It's saying, "I refuse to let this continue to have power over my peace and happiness." Here's a visualization that many people find helpful. Imagine placing whatever you're holding on to, the hurt, anger, disappointment, or resentment, into a balloon. Hold that balloon for a moment, acknowledging the weight of what you've been carrying. Then, when you're ready, visualize releasing the balloon and watching it float away. The event still happened. That's part of your story. But its power to control your emotions is gone. The freedom that comes from truly letting go is indescribable. It's like someone just removed a heavy backpack you didn't even realize you were wearing. Suddenly, you can move more easily, think more clearly, and focus your energy on creating the life you actually want, rather than managing the pain from your past. And there you have them, the 12 keys to unshakable inner peace. These aren't just philosophical concepts to contemplate. They're practical tools you can use every single day to transform your relationship with stress, conflict, and challenge. The journey to emotional mastery isn't about reaching a destination where nothing ever bothers you again. It's about building the skills to navigate life's inevitable ups and downs with grace, wisdom, and unshakable inner strength. It's about becoming someone who responds to life from a place of choice rather than simply reacting from a place of emotion. Remember, developing these skills is like building physical strength. It takes consistent practice and patience with yourself as you grow. You wouldn't expect to run a marathon after one training session, and you shouldn't expect to master emotional resilience overnight. Start with whichever key resonates most strongly with you right now, and gradually incorporate the others as you build confidence and experience. What's beautiful about this journey is that as you become more emotionally resilient, the benefits ripple out into every area of your life. Your relationships become deeper and more authentic because you're not constantly reactive. Your work becomes more fulfilling because you're not drained by unnecessary drama. Your sleep improves because you're not carrying the emotional weight of everyone else's problems. Your decision-making becomes clearer because you're not clouded by overwhelming emotions. Perhaps most importantly, you begin to model emotional maturity for everyone around you. Your calm presence becomes a gift to your family, friends, and colleagues. You become someone others turn to for stability and wisdom because they know you won't add to their stress or drama. As you continue practicing these keys, be patient and compassionate with yourself. Growth isn't always linear, and there will be days when you forget to use these tools or when emotions get the better of you. That's perfectly normal and part of the human experience. What matters is that you keep returning to these practices, keep choosing peace over chaos, and keep growing stronger with each challenge you face. If today's content has resonated with you, I encourage you to share these insights with someone who might benefit from them. Sometimes, the perfect message finds us exactly when we need it most, and you never know whose life you might positively impact by passing along what you've learned. Take these 12 keys with you as you move forward. Practice them, adapt them to your unique circumstances, and remember that every moment offers a fresh opportunity to choose peace over turmoil, wisdom over reactivity, and growth over stagnation. Thank you for investing this time in your emotional well-being and inner development. Until we meet again, remember that your peace is worth protecting, your growth is worth pursuing, and your happiness is worth every effort you put into these practices. Keep building the unshakable life you deserve, one choice at a time.